The Maldives has been in our bucket list for over a decade. It is widely considered one of the most beautiful travel destinations in the world. The Maldives is a country that consists of nearly 1,200 islands stretching across the equator, with only 200 of those being inhabited.
In this video, we're going to discuss how we spent 15 grand on our trip to the Maldives. We'll talk about how much we spent on our flight, our resort, and our activities. And we'll share what our experience was like during our trip. Was it worth it? Should you go? Let's find out. We spent 7 days in Taj Exotica, several weeks trying to plan this trip. Constance Halavelli was our first choice. And that resort was going to cost us $9,000 something dollars. But Monica ended up emailing the resort and asking them if they had a drone policy in place, because we wanted to be able to fly our drone when we went to the Maldives. Turns out they did not allow drones on their island.
There's very limited amount of islands that let you fly your drone.
So ultimately we had to cancel our reservation to Constance. And we ended up booking another reservation with Taj Exotica. And again, it took us so long to find this hotel.
Yeah, and it had to hit up so many things. Initially, we wanted all-inclusive. We need to be able to fly our drone. It had to be within our budget. When you go to these islands, think about you're going to be in that island the whole entire time. You can't wander off.
Yeah.
A lot of the excursions have to be within the island. So it has to have a nice house reef. It had to have excursions like scuba diving, snorkeling, jet skiing. So
our budget for this trip was $15,000 because we knew it was going to be expensive. We spent $1,484 per person to go to the Maldives. So that was about $3,000 combined from Sacramento to Mali, with one stop in Dallas-Fort Worth and another stop in Doha International Airport. Okay, and for those of you that want to know what the flight experience was like, it was one of the worst flights we've ever had to take.
Oh my gosh. Not to mention it took 2 days just to get there.
It did. The flight from Dallas-Fort Worth to Qatar was about 14 hours, and then on the way back, it was 16 hours long.
16 grueling hours.
I had no idea that planes could fly that long. So altogether, it took us 29 hours and 90 minutes to reach the capital of Mali.
And on top of that, another 20 minutes to reach our resort by boat.
But the beautiful thing about our boat ride from Mali to our resort was that they greeted us with drums when we arrived.
Boom,
I
boom,
think
boom, 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 boom,
that was
boom.
unexpected.
And then they took a picture of us when we first arrived there. They were like, oh, let's take a picture. And we were so pale in this picture. Well, that was nice.
That was really nice. So before you leave to the Maldives, we need to give you guys some tips of things that you need to pack.
Number one, most important one. My question is, do you want to spend $100 on a bottle of sunblock? No, you don't. So please bring sunscreen.
Yeah, and we are dead serious about this. You are going to need as much sunscreen as possible. We had a couple that we ran into when we went snorkeling, and they were told that they would have to spend $110 on a small bottle of sunscreen.
I think this is the very first trip that we've been in where we ran out of sunscreen.
That's true.
But thankfully, we brought some rash guards and spring suit to protect ourselves from the sun instead of wearing SPF the whole entire time. So I'm not really a fan of hats, but I really wish I brought my floppy hat on this trip because the sun was so intense. We got burned on the very first day.
And bring some sunglasses.
Oh, yeah. That sun is so intense.
The sun is very bright. How much cash are you going to need on hand when you go to the resort? We only took out about $200. And I think that's all you're going to need. And they accept US dollars. When you are in the resort, you don't actually even need to use your credit card because they're gonna add everything to your bill and charge the card at the end of your stay. One thing we should mention though is that we ended up arriving early to the resort.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that.
And they gave us complimentary early check-in and a complimentary late checkout. Now let's talk about what our experience was like in our resort at the Taj Exotica. First, star ratings do matter. When you're staying at a 5-star resort, it really does make a difference. When you first arrive on the island, you get assigned a butler. You also get complimentary water when you're at the beach. You get complimentary activities when you want to go kayaking or stand-up paddleboarding. The staff is just extremely friendly. No matter where you are on the island, everybody says hi to you. Good morning.
They're extremely friendly and attentive.
When it comes to the food, is the cost worth the quality? I remember Monica and I went to the poolside and we purchased 2 smoothies. They charged us $86
Just for 2 smoothies.
for 2 smoothies.
When we first arrived in our bungalow, we went in and we saw the mini fridge and we said, hey, this is complimentary. And we started drinking. I started eating all the M&Ms.
We were so thirsty, we drank like 2 bottles of water. We drank a Heineken.
Oh yeah, I had a Perrier.
Yeah.
Anyways, that bottle of water was $8.
It actually ended up costing us somewhere around like $150 for those few drinks that we had.
Although the coffee, they had an espresso. It was complimentary.
That was
So that was
complimentary.
good, but he doesn't drink coffee.
Yeah.
So after that, we kind of just left the mini fridge alone.
And when you go to the restaurant, you better expect to spend anywhere from $80 to $150, even $200 per meal for 2. Most of our meals consisted of either breakfast, because it was included in our package.
So yeah, breakfast is included,
So-
and this was not an all-inclusive resort, which
Yeah.
we initially really wanted an all-inclusive, but
Yeah.
our choices were limited because we had to hit off the drone policy. It had to be under budget.
We had to have a nice house reef. We had to have a lot of activities available on the island.
We wanted like a good-sized island, so we didn't want like a super tiny island. We wanted to be able to walk from one side to the other.
We had breakfast in the morning. Like I said, it was included. And then we would either have a late lunch
Or dinner.
a dinner.
Yeah, we noticed that when we go on vacation, even when we're home, we generally have 2 meals a day.
We do. We're so used to
Yeah, that's just how our lifestyle is. And prior to this vacation, actually, I was intermittently fasting, so I was so used to not eating.
it. Yeah, I'm the one that usually gets hungry all of the time. But
like-
even then, I usually only eat like 2 meals a day anyway.
2 big meals.
Yeah, I
he
eat
does
2 big meals.
Yeah.
All right, now that we talked about the food and how much we enjoyed it, how expensive it was, what about the lagoon and the house reef? How would you rate it?
So when we first arrived and our boat just docked and they greeted us, they played the drums, the first thing I noticed was the water. The water was so beautiful. It was pristine. It was, I would say, like this aquamarine color. It was beautiful. In terms of house reef, they had a lagoon where all the overwater bungalows were, and out of all places that we've stayed, I mean, we've been to Moorea, French Polynesia. In Taj, and the first day we saw 2 sea turtles.
Yeah.
We saw a stingray, we saw a spotted stingray, we saw an eagle ray, we saw a bunch of fishes. But I would say when we went to have a snorkel excursion, and it was on a neighboring island, it was kind of disappointing, but it was expected because the whole entire world is experiencing coral bleaching. So I didn't really expect much from the other coral reefs.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about our experience in an overwater villa.
Oh my gosh, I'm very passionate about this because when we were walking towards our overwater bungalow, we would pass by these beach bungalows, which was these bigger bungalows that was facing the beach, and you had your own private beach. Nobody else can access that beach,
Yeah.
and they had a lot more space, and most importantly, privacy. When you use the bathroom, you can actually see your neighbor's pool right next to you in Taj, and they were butt naked.
Yeah. We're not going to show that on film.
But I would imagine if I wanted to go skinny dipping, our neighbors could see us.
That's true. That's true. Which is why they have very strict drone policies.
Yeah, it
And-
makes sense.
Yeah. And Monica kept wanting me to fly
I
the drone
wanted to fly that drone so
over the
badly.
overwater villa, and I kept saying, I'm not going
I
to
am
do it.
not-
What if I get somebody naked on video?
Yeah, I don't
I'm
want.
not.
I don't want anybody filming me.
Exactly. So ultimately, we just used our GoPro to film in the overwater
So
villa.
going back to the overwater bungalows, I personally think they're overrated. I mean,
I agree.
if you've never done it in your life and you always wanted to do it, by all means, go ahead. But I think since that's out of my system, I don't think I would spend that much money to stay in an overwater
Yeah.
bungalow. I think I would prefer a beach bungalow. It has more privacy and more space to kind of roam around with.
Absolutely. Like, I totally agree. We've done an overwater villa when we stayed in Moorea in French Polynesia, and this is the second time we're doing it. And I think it's just, we're done with it. It's out of our system. If you're mindful about your budget, then just go with a beach villa instead. Okay, the walkability on the island. How walkable is it?
So when we were trying to decide which island we were going to stay in, we already knew that we wanted a bigger island because we've done a private island before, or semi-private island in Belize, and you feel island locked, especially if you're going to stay there for a week. And we're super adventurous. We generally don't like to stay in a resort for too long. We like to wander out.
Oftentimes, we'll rent a car wherever we go. I mean, even when we went to Indonesia, we had a car. We went to Cuba and we had a car.
Did we have a car in Cuba?
Yes, we were the only ones with a car when we went to Cuba.
True. Yeah, I would say I prefer bigger islands. And so with this island, you can walk from one end to the other, 8 to 10 minutes.
The island also does have a gym for those of you that do like to work out.
That view though.
The view from the gym is just out of this world. And I was there, and one of the days it was raining. I got some of the rain in the video, and it was just like I was in a trance when I was looking out the windows because it was just so beautiful.
So we're generally not pool people, but the communal pool was just so relaxing. We spent so much time there.
Yeah, and the water temperature, it felt like you were in a jacuzzi, honestly, most of the time.
I love that pool so much. It's like an infinity pool that overlooks that beautiful, pristine aqua water. So it felt like Zen.
And Monica's more of a pool person than me, but I was like in that pool.
He was
every
loving that pool.
day.
And we're like, oh, we wish we had this pool at home.
Now let's talk about housekeeping. Okay, we had a housekeeper come to our villa twice, sometimes 3 times in one day. This is how you know you're in a 5-star resort. Because we would leave our villa a mess and come back and we're like, what just happened? Like, we didn't ask anybody to come and clean up.
Like, ooh, I kind of left a mess.
Yeah, but they were fantastic. The one thing that I always make sure that I do is that I give them a tip because they are such hard workers.
We actually had to Google to see how much Maldivians make.
Yeah, so actually the average resort worker makes between $200 and $250 per month. The least you can do is just give them a tip for the hard work that they do.
Oh,
all right,
yeah,
let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk about activities. What do you think about our experience with our activities?
So the jet skiing was fun. That was nice because we jet skied all around. We saw different resorts. We got kind of close up to them so you could kind of see their overwater bungalows. But the most special part of it was they took us to a sandbar and we were able to fly our drone, get some footage, get some photos. So our jet ski tour guide was super accommodating with us flying our drone and telling him, oh, we have to park it right here and then we're just gonna jet ski over there so we can get some footage. So he was really accommodating when it comes to that. So the jet skiing, yes, it was about an hour and a half. Was it?
Yeah. So it gave us plenty of time.
That was a good amount of time.
Because it was 90 minutes, so an hour and a half.
That one was really worth it. I think that was something you should do in Maldives.
Yeah, it was worth it, but it was $600.
Oh.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
You think, okay. Because we've rented jet skis before.
I know, but this is in the Maldives. That's expected.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. Especially if you want to fly your drone and get a lot of that on video or on pictures, then yeah, it's worth it.
I think it's worth it. You gotta, you can't come to Maldives empty-handed.
That's true.
Just expect it.
Yeah. But what about our snorkeling excursion? Was it worth it?
You know what? We actually went to a wreck.
Yeah.
It was a boat that was that sunk. It was upside down. There was a little bit of marine life there. I actually saw a lot of fishes there. If you really dive down, it was pretty colorful and it had like little tiny fishes. And then so we were at that wreck and then we snorkeled a little bit further off and saw a little bit more coral reef. We got back on the boat and then we went to the
sandbar.
We went to the sandbar. And then we went to this other location where they had sea turtles. So that third stop, it was really disappointing because the reef was dead.
Yeah.
And I got stung by a bunch of jellyfishes, which is okay, but it was just no marine life there. It was just all brown coral. And so after that, I said to myself, I don't think it's worth going scuba diving after this, because that's what I really wanted to do in Maldives. I wanted to go scuba diving.
And that snorkeling excursion cost us $400.
Okay. So yeah, so when it comes to Coral reef, unless you're on another atoll where they have manta rays and you're gonna go see the sharks, I think it wasn't all that impressive. If you want to see that, I'd rather you go to Belize instead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Belize was just on another level. It was one of the best snorkeling activities we've ever done on any trip that we've been on.
Yeah, it had the healthiest reef
yeah, very colorful.
that I've ever seen in all the places we've been to.
We also did try wakeboarding because we thought it was gonna be like snowboarding. We were so
Oh.
excited.
What a waste of money, but that was funny. That was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
That was more of a fun thing.
It was, and I think it was what, like $90 per person
For
something.
15 minutes.
For 15 minutes, so $180 for two.
And we couldn't even stand up on that damn
Oh
board.
my gosh, it's way harder than it looks on TV.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to do
gosh.
it, be prepared to not be able to even stand up on that
Having
board.
flashbacks.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because
Yeah.
after we did that wakeboarding, it was the day before we went back home. And so that 16-hour flight, and we were so sore, although the water was beautiful.
Okay, the last thing we'll talk about is our departure from the island, and was it worth it?
So as a first time island experience in the Maldives, I think it's worth it. But if I could do it all over again, I would probably choose a more budget island.
Yeah. Yeah, like when we went to Moorea, I think we spent something like $8,000 max. And it was an amazing experience for us.
Yeah, the water bungalow was, it was okay. It was in the
Yeah.
Intercontinental, but honestly, I'm not really all about the overwater bungalow experience. I think I'm more of I'm going to explore the place. I'm going to do as much excursions as I can. And we did so much more activities in Moorea. So I think I'm more about the activities, not the stay. Because you just sleep in your hotel. You don't
That's
really
true.
do anything in there.
Yeah. Me personally, I would not recommend the Maldives unless it's like a dream vacation of yours and you've never really explored any place like it.
Yeah, so it's crazy. A lot of people have been messaging me and was like, "Oh, I want to go to Maldives so bad. Oh, I really, I've always wanted to go." And I tell them, if you are here from California and you really, really want to experience something like it, I would rather you go to Bora Bora.
We spent $15,000. We could have spent about $8,000 somewhere else. That would have been just as nice, in my opinion. And that means we could have had an extra $7,000 invested in the market.
But you do have to remember, with all the inflation and the gas prices, everything, all the prices has shot up ever since.
That's true.
So it's gonna be expensive.
Which is why, like, we're trying to go on a trip this summer, but all of the flights are so expensive right now because of the gas prices.
So Taj was definitely a memorable experience. I don't regret it at all. But if I were to go to Maldives again, I would choose a more budget-friendly
Absolutely,
resort.
yeah.
Spend your money more on excursions rather than the resort itself.
So that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed this type of video, let us know in the comments below. And if you want Monica in future videos, then let me know, because she does not like to be in any of these videos. All right, guys, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.